Get into the power.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. I don't want to miss a word of what you say and what you have to share and what's on your heart for all of us today. And if I'm not vigilant, I will just listen and listen and listen and not keep record for those who want to maybe see it later. And yeah. Mm. I was sharing earlier with David that something that was really coming to heart this whole week. Yeah, because in this group, we've been coming together for about a month, almost 2 months now, and really going back to the basics. There's a lot of people that have joined here who are completely new to the Course in Miracles. Yeah, this is the first time they've heard what the Course is. And but they're here because they want peace of mind and they want a better way. And we know many of us who are here have been with the course for a couple of years, many for many years. I mean, David, I don't think he counts the years anymore. Years don't matter.
Almost
Um,
4 decades now.
there
I'm
you
getting
go.
close to 4 decades.
Decades. That's the word.
Decades, four
Yeah.
decades. Yeah.
And so, yeah, something that was like, okay, we've touched upon foundations, which are important for people to grasp what the course is bringing to us, the deeper messages that are being shared here by the Spirit and by Jesus. And yet, the course is called A Course in Miracles. That has to be important, you
Yeah.
know?
I've got my book too here. Here we
Yeah,
go.
there you go. And
Provo Time for Jesus.
miracles have to be important in this path. And there are obviously many aspects that we go through as we awaken to the heart of God, as we awaken to this truth of who we are, of real peace, of what pure love looks like and feels like. Um, and then in that journey, there's a lot of darkness that comes up. There's a lot of what we could very seemingly challenging moments, that are calling us into deeper trust, deeper guidance. Um, and so sometimes the miracle kind of feels far away, like, how do I get those miracles? I came to a course for miracles and I want to experience the miracle. And this group is called the Miracle Mind Meetup because I want that to be the focus because I know that the miracle mind is a mind of joy, is a mind of openness, a limitless, non-judgmental mind. And I feel in my journey that if there is someone who has exemplified that joy and that rest and that authenticity, yeah, that non-conforming of what the teachings are giving us and how we can apply them in a practical way is you, David. And I'm so grateful for the Spirit to have led me to you. It
Oh,
becomes clearer and clearer over time how much your your demeanor and your look upon the world and your relationship to it and each one of us is exactly what I needed in my journey. And I know a lot of people who are on here who could agree with that
mm.
deeply. So thankful to have you here, for you to have said yes so humbly to this beautiful group that's starting now. And yeah, I just wanted to ask you, what is the miracle mind to you? What is that? What does that mean to you?
It's just a mind that is surrendered over to the Holy Spirit and to Christ to be used to teach that only love is real. To teach, like the Beatles said, all you need is love. That's a good step. All you need is love. Is all you need is forgiveness, and then beyond forgiveness is just heaven and creation, and there is only love. It's a Karen Drucker song that I just listened to a couple days ago. There is only love. Uh, and that's what pure oneness is, God. I was asked on an interview yesterday to define God, and I laughed because I said, well, I don't even attempt. That's, whenever I think of God, it's undefinable, undefinable, immeasurable love, bursting, eternal, changeless, infinite. Words fail, but that's really our goal, is to remember God, basically, very simply. And I
Mm.
have to say, over the years, over these last, whatever, 38 years, I guess, um, with the course, I've had many mystical experiences, and I've actually been a part of many meetup groups. I've actually been a part of Course in Miracles meetup groups over the years, and met people. But this is the first online meetup group that I've done, a Course in Miracles meetup group, I think ever, but also the first thing of its kind. So there's been thousands of different forums, and here we are. We're at Course in Miracles meetup group and online. And I think of Francis, my friend Francis Zhu, because when I went to Australia, Francis had gotten into study the course, and Francis got a strong prompt to start a meetup group like you have done. And her group grew to about 160 people total in Sydney, Australia. And then she basically had met in her house or her apartment, in person they met as well. But they had a group of about 160. And then she went to see a friend of mine speak, Jason Warwick, who just had his first mystical experience a few weeks ago, where he totally went way, way, way into the light and the vastness, and had to kind of scramble to get back to the body a little bit, because it was he's like, you got to be kidding me. And when he heard voices saying, Jason, are you still with us? He was like, you've got to be kidding. He was so far gone from the body that he said, it took many decisions to find my way, like the first paragraph of the lesson today, and he said it was so dense when I came. Oh my God, it was so heavy and dense when I came back to the body. But he had his first kind of deep, 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 vast experience. But to get back to Francis, he went to a talk with Jason, and Jason started talking about the course a lot and mentioning me. And at the end, Jason said, yeah, you should meet David. And then so she thought, okay, well, I'll try it. And then she just began diving in, coming to week-long retreats, 2-week retreats. And eventually she went so deep into the deep end that it was kind of like Jesus calling us both out of the world. I mean, in a literal way, which means into the mind, to start to realize that everything is mind, and that this world is a world of ideas. And there's actually nothing physical about reality, and there's nothing physical about our perception. Our perception is literally a perception of the mind. And the first paragraph of today's lesson really goes at that very strongly. It's just summarized in one paragraph. He puts the whole thing in one paragraph. And so Frances basically started unwinding her mind back to God, and basically started questioning everything she believed, by coming to maybe to Noosa, or down to there was a place down south, Mystery Bay. There was all kinds of things she came to, and she just started to go through a rapid unwinding of everything she believed about the world and about her self-concept. And she could see that she'd been teaching the course at her meetup group kind of intellectually, but of course that's where we start. We start wherever we start.
That's right.
We got to grab onto the rope somewhere, or that we're swimming in the ocean and Jesus is throwing us a rope. So we take the rope. And then she started to really see how deep the rabbit hole goes and how much faith and trust. And then pretty rapidly, I would say, over the next period of a few years, just rapidly gave her whole heart over to miracles, basically to being a miracle worker. And you could see it. It was all over her. It was radiating through her. And she traveled with me to many, many countries on many different continents, and we did countless retreats and gatherings. I remember one time in China, the two organizers, they were like, "Oh my God, if we'd have known what was going to come through you two, we would have publicized it much more. If we only knew how dear and deep this was, then we would have put this out to so many people, as many people as we could have reached, because they were so touched by, I think it was like a 2 or 3 day retreat. So basically, I think that Frances was a great example of going in it and then trusting and trusting and trusting, and she had such a willingness to pray and listen and follow, and she just kept joining with me and joining with me around every decision that seemed like a big decision, learning to pray and decisions around family and self-concept, relationships and self-concept, body symptoms. She had a lot of things. She had gone through many diets and had different body symptoms. So we went really deep into the miracle with everything to transfer the training. And then a little over a year ago, she laid her body aside. Many people would say, "Wow, she was young to lay the body aside, but she was devoted. She went for the miracle. She
Oh,
gave her heart to it. She didn't hold anything back. She didn't, when people would say, "How can you let go of this or that?" And she would say, "It wasn't really difficult. It came to me in the prayer." Because most people feel the letting go of the self-concept and of the attachments to the world seemed to be very difficult. But for her, she really didn't put the difficult word onto those. She just was in such a state of prayer that it was almost like they were naturally falling away, like those dandelions when they have the little puffy white things and they just float up into the wind.
yes.
The wind would just take these things that people call major attachments, and they would float off of her and out of her mind like a feather being
Mhm.
taken up in the wind. And I always said, if you had an encyclopedia and you had spiritual awakening, put Francis's picture right there, because she was devoted to miracles. And I mean, on a daily basis, we just joined and joined and joined and joined and prayed and prayed, and so after many years, she laid the body aside and gently laid it aside because it had served its purpose for her mind, for the lesson of forgiveness. So I
Beautiful.
would say, to me, a miracle. A lot of times people read the course and it's pretty much structured. It's a big book. It's got a lot in the text. Most people consider the workbook to be radical, extremely radical, and the manual for teachers is something that they wonder about because they think, "Am I really a teacher? Can I even call myself that? Would I dare?" And so they're a little bit afraid of that one too.
Mm.
And then the clarification of terms and the supplements, Song of Prayer, psychotherapy pamphlet, they're all packed. They're all saying the same thing. They're all pointing in the same direction, and it's a direction of surrender. It's a direction of truly, you might say, getting on your knees and saying, "Okay, Lord, I give you my life. Whatever my life seemed to be in the past doesn't really matter now.
Nothing.
Use my skills, use my abilities, use everything I've learned, use the symbols around me, people, places, bank accounts, skills, abilities. They're all yours now. It's your show." We have to get to that point where we say to the Holy Spirit and Jesus, "It's your show now. You guide, you show me the way, you're in charge. Be you in charge." That's how the workbook ends. 5 times at the end of the workbook, Jesus, the final 5 days of the workbook, he's, "This holy instant would I give to you. Be you in charge, for I would but follow." It's just That's the essence of miracle mindedness. Miracles are natural, but we have to be surrendered and trusting, and we have to be open and willing. They're very, very natural. It's a natural way to live. What an adventure. I couldn't even put the last 38 years that I've worked with the course into a mini movie because a week or 2 weeks wouldn't be sufficient to cover all the miracles. And again, they're all in the mind, even though I've had like a raising the dead experience and I've had what people would call healing experiences and seen many things and met many people on many continents and so forth. It's actually one mind waking up to know itself. And that's why I say oftentimes in the movie gatherings, there's only one of us. There's
Right.
really only one of us. It's a wonderful thing that there's only one of us. Because if I accept that, then there's no competition. There's no comparison. There's no who's ahead and who's behind game. There's no superior inferior games. There's no I have something that you don't have, or you have something that I don't have. You hear a song on the radio that Stefania is singing, or Celine Dion singing, or Barbara Streisand singing, and you think, oh, what a beautiful voice I have.
It's the voice for everyone, right? The voice of the
That's right.
spirit. Yes.
People say, I wish I could sing like Frank Sinatra or whatever, Perry Como or Elvis or whatever, but we've got Quana and Michael right here. We've got our reflections. It's all our voice. What
Yes.
a beautiful voice it is, too. And that's why our heart bursts open when we hear the songs and the music. It just goes right to our heart. It bypasses all the concepts and all the beliefs and just goes zooming right into the core. Jonas is here. Jonas is sharing his heart with all kinds of love and light. And so I feel like we're here to accept our calling, and that in that acceptance, then we actually take off. We actually are activated in joy. We become like an apostle of Jesus Christ. We become uh, a teacher of God. We become a miracle worker. But
Mhm.
like you were saying, Stefania, in your voicemail to me, and at the very beginning, the world is like seemingly very thick and dense and slow vibrations. That's what matter seems to be, what we call the flesh. It's just very, very slow, dense vibrations. But the more we give our lives to miracles, it doesn't feel dense anymore. We feel like we're just dancing. We're in the dance.
Mm.
We're in the happy dance, and and then the body starts to fade from awareness. That what before seemed to be like a heavy garment that we were carrying around with us, like, oh gosh, do I have to deal with this again or that again? Those things just start to fade and disappear from awareness, and then the body is just a serviceable instrument that can be used by Jesus and the Holy Spirit, no different than your phone. Uh, and you don't have to think of your phone as who you are, but you don't have to think of the body as who you are either. You can start to let go of the concerns and worries and care that goes into all that attention that goes into maintaining a body, like he talks about in lesson 135. He longest lesson in the book, and he rattles it off like, what is this thing that you put so much care in, believe that it needs to be defended so much? I think it's lesson 135. He calls the body a pile of dust and water. Oh, here we go. He's going to have some fun with that, talking about a pile of dust and water. He's going to poke fun at our currency, our banknotes, our money, is little strips of green paper strips and piles of metal disc. He talks about in lesson 76. That's what we're going through in the miracle. We're going for such detachment that if somebody compliments your pile of dust and water, you go, oh, well. If somebody criticizes your pile of dust and water,
Mm.
you go,
Oh,
same thing.
yeah.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want about the pile and dust of the water, but it doesn't change that it's a pile of dust and water, and it certainly isn't my home.
Mm.
Heaven is my home. So you start to feel like, oh, I don't have the cares and worries and concerns. But it is like a momentum, a development of trust that Jesus calls it in the Manual for Teachers, where as we keep giving it over, giving it our all, giving it, it starts to gain a momentum that's extremely powerful. And then, you know, sometimes I say to myself, well, maybe I was a slow learner, but I'm revved up now. It's 38 years later after picking up the course, but I can say honestly, I'm revved up now.
Yeah,
I'm really revved.
I'm so happy you mentioned that because I feel like for those who have already seen your journey, and then those who are new to you and new to the course, and or just starting, it's I think it's really helpful to know in the parable of David, right? Just like
Yes.
we all have parables that are our script in our story, and in yours, how did it start for you? Because I wouldn't be surprised if there are people who are still in the part of their journey where they may have resistance to certain values about the body, may have resistance to Jesus as being a leading character because they're still there's a call for healing there, just like
Yeah.
it was for me. There's a call for healing about the idea of who Jesus is, and really coming to understand that he is the absolute symbol of love in our minds, and it is, and is leading the way with that light. But we're still like in between the old concepts and wanting the new, and
Yeah.
I can imagine that you confronted that in your journey and being like, how can I know this is real? Like, how do I fully surrender if I kind of believe this and it's this, how was that for you, and
Yeah.
or anyone you've seen around you? Yeah, that comes to heart.
Yeah. Well, I think when the course first came to me at a humanistic psychology conference with Carl Rogers was the speaker his last year before he passed away. And it was 1986, and I think I could say honestly now I was both ready and willing. A lot of people that I know are very, very willing, but the readiness part is something that's prior to our entry,
Mm.
seeming entry into time and space. Like in the Urantia book, it talks about how Jesus made 7 bestowals before he really accepted the Christ, that he was the Christ. 7 bestowals, for some people in reincarnation, they're like, oh my God, I probably have 365 or 800 lifetimes behind me, but 7, that's pretty rapid, considering you're going from the belief in a body identity into total identification with spirit. I and the Father are one. But but his 7th bestowal was, we know Mary and Joseph and and what we could call Galilee and that time period 2,000 years ago. But for me, I was very, very ready and very, very willing. I was even with a group of friends one time, and we were, I think, in North Carolina, and there was like a world famous psychic who was world renowned who had passed away, but her husband was still alive, and he came with us, and he used tuning forks, and he was. I think it's fun. I love meeting people, and he said I had a whole group with me, and he said, would you like me to tell you which of one of you people were with Jesus during that lifetime? And I said, okay, sure. Everybody good. Everybody's in on it. So he went around with his little tuning forks, and he was, you were there, you were there. He said something like you were like a brother, I think, or a stepbrother of Jesus, and then he went around the whole room, and and I thought, oh, that's sweet. It's all just metaphors and symbols, It's just dream symbols. I don't put any special weight into anything, but because it's not about the past at all. It's just about the vibrant present moment, and So I would say I was ready and willing. And then there was a time when Frances was laughing and she looked at me. We were on a tour, I think, in Australia or something, and she just laughed and shook her head and she said, "You knew this course before you read it."
Mm.
Uh, if that was kind of an indication of readiness. She said, "You picked up that course and you started reading it and you couldn't put it down." Like I literally would read it not consecutively, but on the average about 8 hours a day for the first 2.5 years. Did I have resistance? Yes. Even then, even though I was super ready and super willing, I could only read so much and my eyes would get real heavy. It felt like I had lead weights on my eyelashes because of the resistance. It's so deep. It's so penetratingly deep. But I was very gentle with myself too about
Yes.
taking a walk, taking a siesta, having a snack, not pushing myself. I wasn't going to force myself to read any further when my eyes were tired. And and then it launched into a series of miracle experiences eventually after about some years, around after a few years, I started going to course groups locally. I found them quickly. I went from 0 groups to 5 groups in 1 week because I was so ready and willing. The doors just opened so rapidly.
Right.
And then even in one of those groups on Tuesday night, I've told the parable about how, they were big group, big long-standing group of maybe 25, 30 people. But the longer I was there, people started reading the text, their paragraph or so, and then questions would arise, and all the heads in the whole room would turn to the David character for the answer.
Mm.
So they suddenly just going to this course group was people were looking to me like some kind of oracle or something, which was important for me because I was so shy with my childhood and my 20s that was a big deal, to allow myself to be used, to be spoken through in a course group. That was a big deal for me. That was huge. That was intense. I found myself second guessing everything after the meeting. I would be looking back on it, and Jesus would say, "Let it go. Let it go. Don't look back and try to analyze the meeting now. That's not what this is for. You're you're to be like a conduit for me." And so that was a thing. Many years later, a friend of mine from Australia, I went to Australia 7 consecutive years, and the man who invited me over there, Roger Miles, he started putting publicity out in Australia saying David is coming and David is the voice for God. It's an interesting title when they put the publicity out. But I thought, oh well,
It's done.
yeah,
It's written.
it's written. He said he's not an ordinary man. He's the voice for God. I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of elevating the channeling concept a bit. But
Mm.
I had to learn not to take any of these concepts seriously because that would interfere with my function
Right. Right.
of
I think
being
that's so important.
present.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That like
So
you
little
had,
by little, yeah,
yes.
it
Yeah.
just
Sorry to
little by
interrupt
little it
you.
unfolded. That's all. It
Yes, no.
little,
I just get excited because there's so many things that you say that I feel can take us in so many beautiful directions. And this idea of like, yeah, people starting to give you a certain name or, they're putting now a concept to who you are and what your function is. And for you to just, humbly show up. That's all. You came to do your part. Doesn't matter what the titles were, or and because I feel like it would, in a way, just kind of it would be like a misdirected energy to go into something that really is just like you said, it's not really that important, and you just gotta let it go because the function is coming forward, right? The spirit mind's coming forward, and all these little things that the ego can really get caught up on, and we all know it. Um, can distract us again and
yeah,
again
yeah.
from like the purpose. Like that's literally what it's there for, to distract us from our purpose.
Yeah, There's really only one mind, and every single lesson is pointing to that mind, to the right mind.
Mm,
So we have the metaphor in the Course that Jesus uses the wrong mind, right mind, and our whole purpose of working with the Course and Jesus, Holy Spirit, is to get in touch with our internal teacher. And the purpose of getting in touch with our internal teacher is to more consistently choose a right-minded, above the battleground perspective,
yeah.
which is not personal at all. So I feel like part of me kind of going from somebody who seemed like a very shy child, very shy teenager, a very shy young adult in my 20s, and then boom, 28 years old, I think is when the Course came. And then I was told really quickly and really repeatedly from Jesus that this is all your own lesson. There's nobody else having a lesson. This is for your lesson in mind to accept the atonement and to hear one voice and
Mm,
to be in your right mind, to align completely with your right mind. And of course the ego will try to tempt us to believe that there are persons and personal friends and personal enemies, and it will try to make it very, very personal. Who likes me, who doesn't like me, the typical
mhm.
things that is part of the human ego construct. But we can't give in to that. And I think you're right that I just thought, I don't know where this is going, and I had no idea. If somebody had showed me a video of what would happen in the next 3 or 4 decades, I would have been in disbelief. I would say, who is that character? That's absolutely impossible, that character would do that traveling and speaking and the words would come out. I
Yeah.
would have been in absolute disbelief. Or I would have just said, what are you talking about? Who is that? I have no idea who
So,
that is. But the spirit doesn't work with us that way. We just take it one moment at a time to develop our faith and trust, and we're not oftentimes given prophecies and forecast of the future. And I'm glad. I, that would have been another hang up for me if I'd have known anything that was coming.
yeah. Yeah. I want to say I see that there's a hand up, and in this group we generally have we have an open space of talking, just like we would do if we're in person, and people would just come up and say what they
Yeah,
would.
yeah. They
And
chat.
so yes, and so I want to welcome that. I want people to be mindful of the moment that we're using to speak, and to allow other people to finish as best you can. But I do want to open the space to allow whatever's on our hearts, whether it's a question, but also with our own journeys with the Course. Yeah, because the topic today that feels really most present is like, what is a miracle to me, and what have I believed miracles are, and as I'm in this Course, or as I've gone deeper in the awakening journey, what's the redefinition of miracles? There's a whole lot of definitions in here.
Yeah,
We got 50, I think, principles of
yeah,
miracles.
yeah, yeah.
And they defy space and time. They heal the mind. There's so many beautiful parts, and they all come through the act of forgiveness, as the Course states, right? The forgiveness of seeing what your brother never did, versus of seeing it and forgiving it, which is I think forgiveness to destroy is the word, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like bringing all those bits and pieces in, and looking at your own life, because I think what's made David's example in my life, in Kwana's, and Silmar's, and a lot of people who are here's life, has been to really take the practical aspect of the daily miracles, sometimes weekly miracles, and healings that you continuously speak about, because it opens our mind about what miracles truly are. Sometimes we're expecting this huge thing, when a miracle could just be a sudden change of mind, of seeing a situation that we would always see with defense or with arrogance or with, attack or lack, and just seeing it as it is and being absolutely not only okay, almost like in love with it being here for you, like,
Yeah.
wow, this is for me. I'm being taken in a different direction. And so like the mind is leading us. And it's just, for me, it's always so useful to have those practical examples and practical questions, because it's a long path and a seemingly long path, right? Let me rephrase that, because it's not a long path to achieve anything, but it's a seemingly unfolding path that we can't see. It's like a red carpet where we just see like the first little roll and then like the next little roll as soon as we take it, because we're not here to see where the red carpet's leading us. We're just here to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I want to see where people are walking. Some of us are walking in the middle of that path. Some of us are not even believing in the red carpet. And I want everyone to know that they are welcomed here, wherever you are on that path, because miracles are for you. They're for all of us, for the one mind, right? Like David's saying, we're all seemingly pieces of one thing, one whole love light. And what you experience is my experience. What I doubt is your doubt. What I fear is your fear. And so to share it together is not only bringing it up to the light to be shined upon, but is also connecting. There's deeper union between us because we recognize each other. And so the love goes deeper in stuff like this. Yeah. And I learned that with the living miracles, right? The love goes deeper when you unite and you talk about it and you bring it to the light, no matter where you are, no matter how big the concepts may seem, you have an open heart and you're willing to ask. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It says iPhone 11, but I'm trying. The first lady who has the question, you can come on. Oh, you are muted here. Let me see if I can unmute you.
Thank you so much, because I am on my phone and for some reason doesn't show my name. Hi, David. This is Monica.
Hi, Monica.
This last time we met was in St. Augustine for the Christmas thing, remember?
Yes, I remember very well.
Yeah, what a gift for this meeting. I had no idea this was going on. And for me, it's a gift because I am burying my biological father tomorrow. So I have things inside of me that I need help with, and here you come. It's my bridge to the bridge of the Holy Spirit. I am going to tell you a situation, and my question is, please help me to remember that I am innocent. Okay? I am in Tampa now. I'm not in Miami anymore. I am in Tampa. And we just had the Hurricane Milton last month. And it was very stressful, the preparation, because when we met in St. Augustine, I had just moved from Miami to Tampa to take care of my 94-year-old dad. So I was like freshly moved to his house, and it's been almost 2 years. And preparation for Milton was very stressful. And my dad, he had a tough personality, to the end. I mean, he was still walking around as 94-year-old man. And we had no electricity. So, he was not sitting watching TV. And we were cleaning up the debris outside. And it was, so anyway, 2 days later, David, he fell and he broke an arm, went to the hospital. And things were never be the same. And he was in hospice, and, he died exactly a week ago, and we are burying him tomorrow. Now, I felt very guilty, David, and I need your help to remember, who I truly am. And that I set this up as a trap to believe that I'm guilty because, he was being a pain in the butt, and I just left the house, to do what I needed to do outside. And he walked away and he fell on concrete, you know. So of course I feel guilty because I was not present. You know, I should know better. You know, I felt I had something when I left. My mind was like, oh, I hope he's gonna be okay because there's no TV for him to be sitting. So I had this thing inside of me, and so I was like, you should have known that the Holy Spirit was letting you know that it would have been dangerous. At the same time, who am I to be protecting him 24 hours? But it's just the way I left. I was like, he was being a pain in the butt, and I was just, you just do what you want to do, and I just left. So, of course, I set this up as a trap to believe um, that I am guilty. And so I just need your help, David, to remind me of who I truly am. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Monica. Yeah, it's like this world is all set up from its seeming beginning or its projection, to be a guilt trap. And I think during these times, like you're describing right now, there can be feelings of abandonment, of rejection, of something, guilt over wrongdoing, like I could have done more or should have done more. And it ties into like a responsibility belief too, that somehow you were responsible for him or responsible for his health and well-being. And certainly that maybe was underneath too, you moving all the way from Miami to Tampa just to go be with him, be like with him as a caretaker and be with him. And that's one of the biggest things that we learn through forgiveness is we start to take this responsibility idea. Today's lesson is that this world is a world of ideas, and we take this responsibility idea and we like pin it down into form and into relationship responsibility with parents and family, with financial obligations, with all kinds of things, work obligations and so forth. We like pin it down into the world. And what Jesus is doing with his course is he's saying you just have one responsibility, and that's to accept the correction, which is what he showed us. He's showing us our innocence. He's showing us our divine innocence by saying, let's unpin it from the things of the world and bring it back to mind training and our mind training, because that's our responsibility. And at one point, I like how he's very concise. He says, you can repeat the ideas. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. That's also the first paragraph of today's lesson, where it starts with what we want. And what you're joining right now with me and as you're joining in the prayer of innocence, I want to feel innocence. I want to experience innocence with the events that are coming with burying my father and everything's involved with other people and everyone involved in it. I want to see the innocence in myself and in everyone that's part of this. And it's just no accident that you've come on today and you raised your digital hand, and we're in the prayer of this because we are worthy of love, we are worthy of innocence, and it's just this false mask identity, this mask that seems to have been taken on that was set up. It's a setup by the ego to reinforce guilt. Like the guilt is still in the mind, but it's so much gets projected onto the shadow figure, to the character, to the personality. So I think all of us just joined together in the prayer today of seeing you innocent, seeing that nothing could have been different, that everything played out exactly as it was meant to play out, and that you're coming inside now in prayer to take responsibility for your peace of mind. That's the one thing it's really good to take responsibility for is peace, because it's God's will for us, because it's natural. The guilt is very strange and weird and unnatural, and the peace is very natural. And it's just a perfect opportunity for us all to join together with you in prayer today, that you will go through today and these days with a lightheartedness, with a feeling of lightness and a gratitude and a blessing. You can just start off by thanking your Father and saying, wow, you played the part perfectly for my forgiveness lessons, and you're still playing the part. Whether you
Yes.
seem to be animated or not
Yeah.
animated, you're still playing the part that I need to heal, to release this grief and release this guilt from my heart. Because you're just saying, I don't want this anymore, and that's perfect for today's lesson. We join you. We join you in the innocence, Monica.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a gift. Thank you so much. What a
Thank
gift.
you. Thank you. Oh, love you so much. So grateful you're here.
Me too. Thank you.
Beautiful. Mm. Beautiful. I join you in that prayer. We all join you. We can all feel it. And Jonas, it looks like you have your hand up as well. Come on.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Just take it down, so that's done. And then, yeah, okay. So I actually have a very similar prayer to see my own innocence. And this heavy, heavy, heavy guilt just keeps returning to me. And it seems to be about this healer who I was working with, and then he kicked me out of the group. And then actually, me and David, we had a call. I think I told you, David. And after our call, I was praying and I received the password where I could go and listen to these meditations that put me in deep revelatory states where I've been for 5 months. And now I have a guilt towards the guy. And it's like this story in my mind. I need to tell him, I need to tell him to feel free again. It's so strong. And I love this guy. This guy has helped me so much. Um, and then also this fear that doing these meditations that I have kind of overdone it and followed that old ego pattern of ambition, and that I cannot get out of this healing, this intense healing that is happening. I just want to function now as a normal guy who goes around and sing. Um,
That's it.
But then today I had a funny miracle because this morning I was practicing my song, the Miracle song, which is actually written about Frances. Or I wrote it 6 years ago, and then 1 year ago when Frances she died, I was in a mushroom retreat with myself, and she came to me. Her presence was there, right? And she was speaking to me. And then I realized, wow, this song that I did not know what was about. It's so much about Frances. And I even changed one line today to Only Love is Real. And you were sharing that, right? And I saw you shared the picture of her, right?
Yeah. Just
I was
funny.
also feeling happy today, right?
Yeah.
And then there was this producer from Guatemala that I met a month ago in Berlin. And when I heard his music, he just brought up this energy of Hare Krishna dancing, like could feel like how I just felt so good about him and his music. And then I just put him a voice message, and he replied me, and like, we had many synchronicities. Like, and when I looked at my watch, it was like there was 444, and it's like Spirit always speaks to me in these numbers. So now I feel like maybe there is a possibility that I will go to Guatemala. And then I looked it up at the map, and Mexico is right beside. And just like I feel that there is an openness now, right?
Yeah.
And I hope that I can carry that out in the world and live it. But yeah, I just wanted to share, and also to ask, like, do I really need to share this truth with this guy? Um, or how is that?
Well, Jesus, when he talks about the miracle, he basically tells us that he is the one who's in charge of miracles. Good to know from the one who accepted the atonement is in charge of the miracles. That makes sense. Uh, it's also said that only Jesus can perform miracles indiscriminately. Indiscriminately. Whoa, no limits on that at all. But he also says that he said, you should always ask me if you should perform miracles. And in particular, with the action component, you're talking about telling this teacher, particularly the action component must be controlled by Jesus, because the mind that is not clear and consistently right-minded, it cannot really tell uh, where to bestow the miracles. It needs help. It always needs to ask.
Mm.
There was one time when Jesus was getting a lot of information to Helen Schuckman, and he mentioned the word Casey. Some of you know Edgar Casey was probably one of the most famous psychics on the planet in history. And Jesus was saying to Helen, Casey had a wonderful contribution to the plan of awakening. Then he goes on to say, it could have been more helpful if he'd have turned to me and asked me which miracles to perform. Only Jesus gets away with that because he's the only one that can perform them indiscriminately. So anybody else, you'd go, oh, come on, but that's too arrogant. But not with Jesus. That's actually humble. He's just doing his job. So, but I do think that it's important to remember that the miracle is a purpose in the mind. It's a choice in the way that we look upon the world. And that's why if there is any action component, we really need to we need to ask Jesus and get a big yes feeling, because the miracle is a correction in the mind. And I did a church service maybe a month and a half ago, where I was just praying and praying, and out of my mouth came the words, never correct a brother, never correct a brother. And I did the whole worship service. I think it's on YouTube, on Living Church Ministries, on what Jesus is teaching us. He's teaching us never correct a brother, even if he is speaking insanely. He's still the Christ, and you're still not to correct him. And he goes on to say, do not question him and do not confound him. Oh, thank you for those clear instructions, Jesus. Never correct a brother. Do not question him. Do not confound him. It sounds like he wants me to accept him exactly as he is. I think that's what his message is. He wants me to, regardless of the form, regardless of the behaviors, regardless of the actions, to see the Christ. He even has a concept in A Course in Miracles that he calls charity, where he says charity is a way of seeing your brother as if he was much farther along than his apparent accomplishments in form. And then he goes on to say, charity is actually for you. It's for your own mind. It's a gift to yourself to see the light, to see the Christ, to see somebody much farther along than they appear to be in form based on past learning. So it's really an internal shift of seeing them differently. That's what we're praying for. whenever I've been tempted to judge a brother, Jesus is reminding me a miracle can come of this. And he also reminds me that a miracle is seeing the person, the place, the situation completely different than I was seeing it. And that I don't need to correct somebody. Sometimes people say, get it off your chest and tell your truth and all these things. And Jesus is like, do not correct a brother. Do not confound him. Do not question him. Whoa, there is some light there. There is some perfect light, perfect unconditional love there. There's even a part in the Song of Prayer where Jesus addresses the topic of praying for one's enemies. That's an interesting topic. What does Jesus have to say about praying for one's enemies? He says, if you do think that you have enemies, you are in great need of prayer. And then he says, pluck the offense out of your own mind. Oh my God. He's not acknowledging that there are enemies. He's saying, you are misperceiving this situation, you are misperceiving this brother, and you need to see their perfection. You need to come back into your right mind, and right mindedness can see only perfection. So it's high, it's a tall order. I mean, but that's what we're in it for, right? We're in it for bliss, for joy, for those experiences that you've had that are so vast. That's why we're in it, for the whole thing. And so I think that you can just pray on it. And I think when we pray on that, then this push or this need to tell somebody goes away. And then if it just happens, I've had that happen sometime with a seeming former student where I hadn't seen her for a number of years. And then I was off in my function, my joy, at a conference in San Francisco at a boutique hotel. I was going down the steps instead of the elevator. I saw this man ahead of me, like a floor and a half down, and it looked like from the back of his head, like it was the husband of my former student. And sure enough, when we got down to the lobby, I looked and it was him. And then I looked and it was her. And I went over to her and I looked at her and smiled, and she just looked at me and she went, shit. Well, Jesus arranged that holy encounter. It was interesting because I wasn't trying to do anything except just noticing as I was going down the steps and just floating through the lobby. But if something needs to be said, or even just a smile, you get the opportunity, but it's involuntary. Miracles are involuntary. You don't have to figure out what you should do. You just keep the prayer in your heart, and you just let the chips fall where they may, and you let things happen, and you enjoy the free flow. Miracles are involuntary that way. They should not be under conscious control. And that's part of that letting go of the personality, the self-concept.
I guess my fear is that I have received the prompt to say it, and then the ego's fear is kind of blocking it out. But I mean, I'll just say to Spirit, if you really want me to say it, you must make it obvious. You must make it obvious.
Yeah. Very good. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Now I'm happy again.
Thank you. I'm glad.
Thank you, Jonas. Beautiful. Yes. You know what, I love this question also because it took us deeper into something that I just want to bring to light, which is Jonas's call here is a call for a miracle. Like that's the deeper call that I feel, like is a call for a miracle. And David is showing us that the miracle is a shift in perception. It's an internal shift. We want the external shift. We want to see the miracle. Show me the miracle. Have them be nicer. Tell them, whatever it is. Give me the surprise. But the miracle is really looking at I believe that I need to do something about this. I believe there's something wrong here or wrong with this person. And I want to give that belief over because that belief is keeping me from seeing the true innocence. Like Monica was asking, to see the true innocence in all of it. And what a beauty to have groups like this, for example, where we can express. Sometimes it's not about expressing to the person, right? Like how Jesus is saying, don't judge a brother. You don't need to correct him. But we might still have something on heart that has to come up. And the call might many times not be in to defend or attack this particular person, this relationship, or, to do something there in the forum, rather to find a safe space or a person, just a companion. Sometimes it might be a journal, spirits in the journal, it could just be at the heart, but to really release, this is what I'm feeling, this is what's not clear, I'm still believing this, and just you take over. I let go of the personality that thinks they know. And so, yeah, thank you, David. Thank you, Jonas. That was so beautiful.
That's great. It's like the Nike commercial. The Nike slogan was always "Just do it," but Jesus is more like "Just be it." That's our new slogan. Here, I've got a gift somebody sent me that we'll put this as our graphic for "Just be it."
The Christ in the center.
Look at that little smile on that baby in the swaddling cloth. There's the rest of the gang. But just be it. Yeah, that's what we're focusing on. There was a famous theologian in Europe, St. Augustine, who was quoted as saying, "Love and do what you will." Oh, wow, St. Augustine, that's a good one. Love and do what you will, because it all has to come from the state of love. And now, Jonas, you're happy, so whatever comes, make it obvious you're a happy miracle worker right now.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Selmar, I see that you're on here. Welcome, sister, and thank you for being here and joining us.
Thank you so much. I am so delighted to be here. It's been a lot of rearranging, but I was able to make it. I wanted to acknowledge the teachings that David has shared about seeing no. That has been the most wonderful reminder. Seeing no error on anything. All is perfect, all is well. A few years back, I was in traffic and I was supposed to get to a place at a certain time and the traffic was miserable and I was very anxious, and all of a sudden this poem started coming through. All is perfect, all is well. You've got my back. You hold my peace. You keep me safe. I trust in love. And that's the beginning of the poem. And I have used that. And then David sort of brought the idea that see no error, because there is no error. All is perfect and all is well. And I can trust that. And it has made every difference in the world in my life. I am so just okay in the flow. And I wanted to say that there was many years ago, I carried a lot of guilt. And I read in a course in somewhere in the course where it says your innocence is guaranteed by God. And when I read that, it was like, oh my God, thank you. Because all of a sudden I saw that guilt is just ego stuff. And my innocence is guaranteed by God. There's nothing that can interfere with my innocence. And so I just wanted to share that for the group because it's helped me immensely. And just keep in mind that anything that is guilt comes from the ego, and we don't need that. We don't want it. Thank you. Thank you so much for all your teachings, David. I had been studying A Course in Miracles and teaching it and, sharing it with everything. I mean, it was like my life, my from the moment I saw it, it was like coming home. Oh my God, Santa Claus is real. So it was so great. And it just, but I never made the connections that you helped me make. Like it's all in the mind, and there's so much that you have helped me recognize, and it has been a game changer. And then I had to go to the monastery to see that you guys were real, because I couldn't believe, really,
Apparently, we just seem to be real.
live that way. And so I went there, and sure enough, that was my next shift into absolute awesomeness. And I will end up spending extended periods of time there as soon as, things are right. So anyway, I love you so much. And I love everything connected with you and the monastery and the Living Miracles community. It's my home. My home.
Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just made the call a couple days ago to our Rise band, and I said, "Hey, how about another Strawberry Field Festival? We've done it in the summer and the fall. Let's do one in the spring, maybe like May." And so maybe we can coax Stefania to come and get on the stage and sing some for us there in May. So yeah, we enjoy celebrating joy and love and happiness and peace. Yeah, and that's a beautiful backdrop for it. But yeah, it's you can always put with everything, or so it seems. You came to the monastery to see if we were real, or so it seems.
Yeah, or so it seems, right. Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I think, Soma, what you're saying is very, we all go through that. Like, can this level of happiness be real? Like, is it really for me? Is what David is exemplifying, is what Living Miracles, and it doesn't mean that they don't have moments where they have to bring up stuff, we don't get that all on recording, but the greater purpose, and as soon as it gets brought up, because we're being vigilant, right? And I forgot to start, yes, this is being recorded, just to answer my Thay's question, but I forgot at the start of this to mention that I invite everyone in this group as much as we can to be vigilant, even in conversations like this, where we're learning and we're receiving. But even then, we have aversions, we have resistance, we have thoughts that come up that can, whatever they may be. And it's just like, oh, look at that. Look, I'm feeling this when this person says this. Oh, interesting. This really resonates. This is calling me in. I feel a deeper call. I invite all of us here to really check in, because that is the invitation to stay vigilant in the mind, because the mind is the one directing all of it. And the call to being aware of that mind is what brings us closer to choosing the spirit mind, which is our truest essence and what we're here to do, who we're here to be, moment to moment. And so vigilance, I think, is a big part of it.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much as well.
Thank you. Mwah. Love you, Stefania.
Love you. Ooh, Kwana, come on up. We'd love to hear you.
Woo! Oh my God. When Stefania told me last week that you were going to be here, I was like, whoa! I was so excited, because a few weeks ago I got a whisper from Jesus. You know how you get whispers from Jesus, and he doesn't always come up on the surface yet, but he sort of said, I think David might be joining you. And again, I didn't really fully, I just like, whatever. But yeah, so wow. Can Michael and I come to Strawberry Fields?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. They're just starting the process, but we kept the website and everything from last year. I think it was Strawberry Fields Forever or whatever, xyz or whatever it was. So it's not going to take much to tweak it. So I would expect they'll start putting it out maybe in December.
Oh my God.
And then we'll just start the discussions. I actually had just started doing world tours again. So I was just in Spain and France and Germany. And now I'm getting geared up to go to Brazil in December, and maybe Chile and another part of South America, and then to Tokyo, to Japan in March. So my schedule is filling up pretty rapidly with the world tours because I was not traveling for about 5 years. I was just working with a small community. But well, the thing is, here we are. We're talking about it now, so we're throwing our inspiration into the pile of ideas. If this is a world of ideas, let's fling out our inspirational ideas. But I think that would be a treat,
Yeah.
actually, for you and Michael and Stefania to come and shine and share. And yeah, well, it'll be a collaborative thing, but we're going to start trying to put something out, I think, in December. So it gives us a few months to get rolling here.
Well, I wanted to add too in the conversation about miracle mindedness. And as someone who's been with the course for a little over 20 years, part of realizing that the miracle is not the outcome. It's as we're talking about, it's the mind joining with love. And that's where the miracle is. And, I've shared before that I had a gradual unfoldment over the decades. And then when I found David on YouTube one day and I see this smiling face, I'm like, he kept coming up over and over. I'm like, who is this guy? So I finally clicked. And from that point on, it's been a very rapid healing. And then I would say probably in 2023, Michael and I have had it. So for anyone else listening, it's not just David. Mm-hmm. Jesus has brought my husband and I into rapid miracles, like boom, boom, boom. Jesus told me in 2021, he's like, you guys need to rest because you're going to be busy. And I didn't believe him. I was like, okay. But as 2023 came along, Jesus has brought us into travel. Jesus has brought us into a lot of collaborations, getting our music out there. And yeah, I've had a lot of resistance, like, I don't believe you, Jesus. But he's like, yeah. So I kept my heart open and the willingness to look at my beliefs. And I just want to share with everyone that this is real, that the joy, I try to end the sessions that we've been having with Stefania. This is a pathway of joy, everybody. That's why we're smiling. That's why we're laughing. You have to experience that. And you do have to face a lot of darkness. But when you realize that Jesus is holding your hand through that, you're gonna be blown away. So I can assure you that you are here for a purpose as a miracle worker, and that Jesus knows exactly how to use everything you have, all your talents and abilities. And so for me to express that, because that's what helped me, and listening to David and Francis and everyone in the Living Mirrors community sharing about how when Jesus took over their lives and the joy and the happiness and things outside of your comfort zone, outside of what you think it's going to be, that's exactly what's happened. And it's really important for me to express that, because that's what helped me have the courage to fully go into it, to fully go for it, to fully say, yes, I'm going to do this. And I'm not going back. So again, thank you, David. And woo! Yes. Thank you. The joy, the excitement is real. And love you. Mwah, mwah.
Beautiful. That's a yelp of love.
Yes, it is.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you for that share, Kwana.
Yeah.
I think it's always nice to see the different ways that Spirit, Jesus, really leads us, and the paths that they take us on, and thus also the miracles that we experience through choosing that path, through listening. If anybody else feels something on the heart, remember, this is an open space. We're coming closer to the last 15 minutes, but there was just something I had in mind about what we share. It will come back if it's supposed to. But yes, I just feel very, very deeply grateful for having examples, right, around us, mighty companions around us who have chosen the path of joy, who have chosen a spirit-led life, and who can be a reference of love, a reference of truth, a point to guide us when we might not be listening internally to the voice within, because whatever resistance is showing up for us, whatever judgments we think we may receive, I think that was a big part of my journey, because there are in our mind, right, seemingly people out there, everyone who's in this group, and then as a facilitator, this is an example, I could worry about what everybody is going to think, feel, and be here, how they're going to receive it, how they're not. But that's not my job. And that is a block for me to be here in full presence, for me to worry about if I'm doing it right or not, if I'm showing up, if the right people will understand, if people will be turned away. And I share these thoughts because they've come up before, right? And I release them, right? So if people will be turned away because we're talking about Jesus too much, why would that be something that I felt? Because I judged people who talked about Jesus a lot. It was a judgment in my mind, and therefore I could project it and see it in others and now worry, I'm going to be judged. And yet it's all a call to heal. Why do I feel I'm going to be judged? What is the judgment? Only exists in the mind of the ego, in the wrong mind, as the Course, lets us know it's there, but it's illusory. It's not true. And yet we choose to believe. So it goes back to, once again, our power to choose, that only responsibility, like David was saying, there's one responsibility, and that would be our mind, our vigilance, our willingness to say yes and pray and listen and follow. And if we trip up, to say yes again and to choose again, because there's no tripping up and then tripping up about tripping up doesn't do anybody any good. It just keeps you where you are. And that's the whole plan of the distraction. The distraction from the light keeps you right where you are. There is no choice. Everything is difficult. And so, that just felt on my heart to say we can all have these concepts and things in our minds, but it's all an invitation to healing, and therefore to the miracle, because the miracle is the expression, I guess, or almost the proof that we need. Miracles are the proof that we need, that we're on the path, that we are listening, that we are not alone, and we are so loved and taken care of. So Isabel, please come on. We have about 10 more minutes, but would love to hear you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie and Davy and everyone that's joining us from different parts of the world. It's my pleasure to be here, listening, so many beautiful things that's expanding my feeling, removing so many blocks in the way. And still I find, so many things in my journey that I want to learn. And this is what I want to ask. I want to ask David to help me see myself with more compassion. The same way, I want to be more compassion with situations that my judgment, my mind, my ego sees as dark, sees as unhealthy. Because at the end, we're all equal, we're all one, we're loving, we are here to just have fun in this life. But at times I find roadblocks that are easy for me to move on, but other blocks are not. So either they are in my mind, so pinning my ego, I want to unpin it completely and be able to embrace situations that are dark or unhealthy and still go with the flow. I still be loving and still be embracing, because those things are stopping me from my own growth in my relationships. Particularly, I can go easily, but at the end, yes, it also blocks, our financials and other areas. Sometimes we say no, but yes, it's kind of it's a limitation. I want to unpin that limitation out of my way. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Isabel. Yeah, I was just doing an interview yesterday, and a similar question of what about these heavy feelings that come up with certain people and places and situations. Yeah, and it's the undoing of our self-concept, this self with a mask that was made to take the place of our Christ reality, our oneness, our spirit reality. So it's always it's like, as we go through the letting go process, these emotions that come from our identification with these beliefs and these thoughts, they do surface. And I think we learn to not push them down and learn to come back and be with the spirit when they are arising, so we can kind of just watch them and go, look at this. Oh, look at this reaction. Interesting. Mm-hmm. We have to somehow loosen up with the spirit's help from that identification with these ego thoughts, that our mind is in the sleeping state is filled with private thoughts, with lots of judgments and grievances and secrets. And we need help to be lifted up above them and see their nothingness. So I think there was a song, after I heard Stefania's voicemail this morning about miracles and miracle-mindedness, I just prayed right before I came on here, and there was a song by a woman named Amanda Cook called Miracle of the Mind.
Yes.
And there's a line in that song that Jesus was reminding me of as she's singing this to Jesus. She's singing this to Christ. I am what you think of me. Oh, this changes everything. I am what you think of me. That only these pure, loving thoughts of pure divinity and innocence and lightheartedness and laughter and humor and joy and all of it are the thoughts of Christ. And I am what you think of me. I am not what the ego made. I am not the thoughts of the ego. I am what you think of me. Oh, this changes everything. It does change everything. It's such a lightheartedness. So in the world, we're used to, as human beings, we were used to growing up as children and going through education processes and wanting to please our parents and wanting to please our teachers and please people, partners, and so forth. But now we're starting to realize that our self-esteem that we've worked so hard to build, there's an esteem, there's a true worth that comes from God, and nothing I think or say or make or do can establish my worth. My worth is established by God. My worth, my innocence is established by God. And Silmar was talking about that line about sinless innocence is guaranteed. I went to a course conference one time, and a friend of mine from St. Louis, he came to me and he's like, I was just reading a workbook lesson, David, and in the lesson there's a line that gets repeated it's like 7 times he says the same line 7 times in one lesson. And I said, yeah, your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. He repeats the same line in one lesson, one short, really considerably short lesson. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. He's saying what Somar was saying. Your innocence is guaranteed by God. And that must be God's will for me to remember that joy and that love and that innocence. So it's always going to be a little uncomfortable to the ego as these thoughts keep rising up, because we have to let them come up from the subconscious mind for release. And we just want to practice not identifying with them and taking them to heart, because then that takes us down a dark road of guilt and fear if we identify with those thoughts. And that is our practice, is to be reminders for one another of innocence. Even when I've been traveling around the world, or when I'm in a restaurant and the waitress, whatever, forgets the order or takes too long or spills the drink all over your lap or whatever, you know that there's only one purpose for that encounter, and that's for teach innocence, to teach only love. Or at a grocery store line, when the checkout person's having a difficult day and people start to yell or grumble, when you get your turn, you are going to give it all in love. Thank you so much. Oh, what a wonderful experience you are in my life. You're making my day. It's like, it's the miracle. It's the miracle of extending the gift that we want to receive for ourselves. So thank you so much, Isabel, because that really is the core of it. We're here to cheer each other on. We're here to be a very strong support, reminder in this journey. And really, we're calling upon the Spirit to come in us and through us, through our heart, to authentically be that loving support, non-judgmental, regardless of whatever's being presented to us. We're not meant to judge it in the least bit. And wow, we get lots of opportunities to practice that, for sure.
At least I have a little progress. When I'm being judged, it comes, but I'm not coming back in the game. I think at least, or doing it the least possible. And to me, that's a shift that is coming by layers, but it is working. I hope one day to be there.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, Isabel, thank you. And just your awareness of it is that vigilance, and the more we become, the more we invite that awareness. And we've said this here in the group before, that awareness in itself, that non-judgmental loving awareness, is that is the Holy Spirit mind that looks upon all of it and knows, sees it all very, very neutral. Doesn't matter how positive or how negative it seemingly feels. That mind is like resting, like, oh, like David said, oh, look at that. And that's what we do if we're going into meditation as a practice. And I've said this in the group, you're watching your thoughts and you're not getting caught up in them. You see them as clouds that go by and you just observe. You don't make judgments upon it. You don't try to change it. You don't try to make yourself not think, you're not trying to do anything. You are just sitting back and watching. And in that sitting back and watching, there is a place of rest of like, that is above the battlefield, because I don't need to believe what's happening, but I can see it happening. It's happening, and that's it. And so that is the call for all of us to go there again and again. And just having that awareness is already that's the willingness of your heart to want to see it more and more. So you're doing it, sister. You are doing it.
One last thing. Maybe you mentioned, do not correct your brother, right? However, one way or another, we are students and teachers. In which way to you say something that doesn't sound offensive, then that doesn't sound you are correcting someone. So it flows, it feels nice. Is that a way?
Yeah, I think it has to do with Jesus saying, whenever you feel the need to become defensive about anything, you have identified yourself with an illusion. So the correction is not really involving the behavior, but it's actually a correction in the state of mind or the attitude, and then everything flows automatically, involuntarily from the attitude. But that is a lifelong process of loosening from identification with the body. As long as there's an identification with the body or the person, you will feel a tightness coming from time to time, a defensiveness. And then you may want to say something or bite your tongue or choke on a few words, because it feels like the ego is saying, give them a piece of your mind. And Jesus is saying, no, give them the peace, Peace, of your mind. Give them the peace of your heart. But that's a process that Jesus says, usually for most people, it's a slow process of gradually developing relinquishment of judgment, where you begin to just tune in more and more with the spirit, and you do disidentify and you undo the belief in the roles and the concepts that have seemed to be the self. Like with Frances, I mentioned her at the beginning, she was married, she had her own business, she had a couple houses, she had the things that in the world would say, wow, you're a successful girl. You've been doing something right. But she also became aware as she came closer into the love and joy and the need to let go of everything. She told me one time she had a friend of hers that decided to start a YouTube channel, and she became like a world famous vegan, world famous vegan. And Frances would kind of look on her YouTube and go, oh my, look at this. This was my friend. But Frances herself had to go through so much questioning around beliefs around food, beliefs around nutrition, beliefs about what was morally wrong and right about different foods and different practices of eating and everything. She had to do that with lots of things with her body and symptoms, and she practiced. She went through different diet regimens, and before she came to the course and started questioning deeply in her mind and loosening her self-concept, she tried out many different ways of eating, even, for example. And she was what the world would say successful, but she told me, well, the plan of Frances was to be very successful, make a lot of money, retire in my elderly years with a nest egg of money, and then travel the world and see the world and meet people. She said, but when I met you, David, everything got flipped around. Immediately, we were traveling around the world. Immediately, we were meeting people and hugging people and seeing far off exotic places in different continents. Immediately, not after decades and a nest egg and like a retirement party. So you can see, it's like Jesus says, you're worthy of joy, of love, of happiness, of peace, but you still believe you know the means to reach those things. And he's saying you don't, actually. Your past learning has not taught you the way to reach those things, even though they're your inheritance. But miracles are your way. Miracles are the means. Revelation is the end. If you give yourself over to the means, then the end is assured. You will have God revealed to you in a direct experience. So that's the simple pathway to that the course gives us, and all we can do then is dive in. What's holding us back? Why would we hesitate with such an invitation like that? I couldn't think of any reason to hesitate.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, well, it looks like we've come upon the hour, and I understand if any of you have to step out or have to go, that is okay. I have left in the chat for anyone who feels, to give and support this space and today's, meetup, holy encounter, really. Love offerings, there are different options for love offerings there in the chat as well. And so Edgar Jonas had asked if he could play something for us, and I think maybe we can have this as a closing. It just came to heart, and he wrote me privately, and so yes, absolutely. And before we close off with his song, I just want to thank you, David, for showing up, for being here, for being the example that you are, for sharing the depth of the things that you've learned and have, just pretty much lived out and put to practice in your life. And you take us all deeper. And that is what we're all here for, to go deep. Jesus wants us to go deep. We might question a couple times and, turn around and try to get back. But yeah, we're here to go deep. And
yeah, thank you. That's beautiful. I'm so happy to meet all of you here, and reminds me of that song about oceans going, Spirit, lead me. We're into the deep waters. We're into the deep waters, and thank God for A Course in Miracles too.
Yes,
as a pathway. What an amazing pathway to dive deep and to go toward the light in such a practical way. So thank you for your invitation, and thank you, Jesus, Holy Spirit, for being with us and guiding us and letting your light shine through us and sparkle through us for everyone. And, I always think that that's the answer. The guidance and letting the extension of love pour through is the answer.
Yeah.
I think that was Dionne Warwick. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of.
And one more thing that before we go to Jonas is I would like just Cameron to really quickly come on. He is the founder of Awakenpedia, who made this space available to me, and like a whisper of spirit kept nudging me again and again. Steph, could you start this group? Awakenpedia needs the course.
Cameron.
And if you could just quickly come on. Thank you, Cameron.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Steph. And David, thank you so much for joining us. I've heard amazing things about you from nearly everyone I've met in discussions around you. So thank you for joining us and for extending your presence. It was really nice to listen and to hear you and to feel your energy. I can certainly sense the depth that you've been touched by Spirit, God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit. And yeah, you're an inspiration for all of us in this way. And, I think, my path, while a different journey, we're all kind of headed towards the same destination here. And Awakenpedia was actually a birthing from my own experience with the Course, and my experience in surrender, unplugging from the matrix and just becoming a nomadic explorer of the universe and what it means to truly be alive. So it's an honor just to be able to be here to offer, this to the world. I really feel like, and I'm sure you guys all can relate to this here, but I'm just a vessel, right? We're just channels, and we're letting the love pour through us, extend to others, and that's being reflected back to us. Yes. So Awakenpedia, how I see it, it's just the vessel of vessels, and it's here to support and empower those who are empowering others back home to return home, and to realize Christ consciousness, essentially. And the Course is such an incredible text. I call it the bazooka of spirituality, because it really is just so incredibly profound. I feel like I've read everything under the sun, and nothing for me has been as pure as the Course. And to think that it's, it was a channeled text by Helen, who was, not really attuned to any of this stuff coming into it, just really adds to the validity of this experience that we're all, on and sharing together. But I can see it and hear it the way you talk, David, Steph, how you lead this group. We're all serving the same mission, and we're all trying our best to surrender, to be co-creators in partnership with this divine intelligence. And I find it to be such a surreal experience. And like you, my life has been endowed and committed to this mission because it's the only real thing there is. And I can't find anything deeper or more meaningful to spend my time and to put my attention into. So there'll be lots more, love going around. And just thank you again for being here. And it was great to finally meet you.
Thank you, Cameron. I like that Awakenpedia. It's everyone knows a Wikipedia, but I hope that spreads all over the world.
It's the real Wikipedia.
It's the real Wikipedia, right? It's what people were searching for when they were looking in Wikipedia. You've done it. And I was just on an interview yesterday with a man named Alex Ferrari, and who's so open-minded, so childlike, and he's got such a vast array of guests on, and he just started a new platform like you did, Awakenpedia. His platform is kind of like taking Amazon and Netflix and then putting on just pure extensions. He just today, as we're speaking, he's launching his platform. And he told me yesterday during the interview, he says, David, it's a lot of work. He said, my God, I never have launched a platform before, but I'm sure how the people who launched Netflix, and Amazon were feeling the same things. But so I'm going to have the team start to put out this platform today because it's such an amazing platform. And I'm so glad that the way you've taken the spin on Wikipedia, and we want to give them what they really want. So you've done it. I love that name.
Thank you so much. Yeah, true honor, David, and thank you for everything you've done over the decades, just to further extend the evolution of our species and to move us closer towards God. I really sense that everything, no matter how small it may seem, is a massive impact towards this shift in consciousness. And I hope and trust that one day we will be able to all kind of look at the reality and to witness the world, and the mass reflection that is coming back is one of love rather than fear. And I think it's people like you, like Steph, groups like Awakenpedia, attendees joining events like this, one now at a time, just showing up and expressing that willingness to actually surrender and to let go of that control so that God can come in and act on behalf and correct the misperceptions. So yeah, I also get very excited, passionate about all this stuff. So I'm just very, very giddy that this is all happening.
Yeah, we can all feel the giddiness.
Feel it.
Yeah, beautiful. Ooh, yeah, Kwana. Woo. That's it. Beautiful. Edgar, please bless us with, or Jonas, Edgar Jonas, I always say both.
Whatever you prefer.
Whatever is welcome. We would love to hear. And
fine. Yeah, and just really a really quick share. Steffi and I, we have also talked about doing a group that is more about music coming together, and we are exploring right now what kind of format it would take, if it's that me and Steffi, we guide some exercises, or if it's that everybody get a time slot on 10 minutes and play their song and share how that was for them. And so we are exploring something there, how to extend music as well. And that being said, now I want to play the Miracle song. That is very related to Francis. Yeah, all right. Now your body is gone, knowing everlasting youth. Finally where you belong, in every moment you'll choose. A world where war is just a memory. A place where new beginnings in the truth sets you free. And you recognized life was nothing but a dance. In every move you made, universal of romance. And now you're floating down the river effortlessly. I guess inside you feel the shiver, setting you free. Rest in God eternally. You said that only love is real. Thank you for reminding me that somebody told you're whole and innocent. No reason to pretend you made anything less than a miracle. Somebody told that you're a precious gift, extended like a kiss. You ain't anything less than a miracle. I was afraid, came around with a smile. Sing myself hatred, paper tiger in disguise. Now I'm listening to your song of silence. Instead of solving puzzles in my mind. Do, 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 do. You say it's easy if I try. Now I've got no more tears to cry. So thank you for reminding me that somebody told you're whole and innocent. No reason to pretend you made anything less than a miracle. Somebody told that you're a precious gift, extended like a kiss, and you're anything less than a miracle. When it was your time to go, you said that we don't know what anything is for. No, no, do, do, do. When it was your time to go, you said that you don't know what anything is for. No, no. 'Cause in the miracle, life is magical. Let the waterfall of blessings keep coming down. In the miracle, oh, life is magical. Let the waterfall of blessings keep coming down.
Thank you. Thank you. Mm. Really feeling the heart of Francis in that, and the heart of us all. Mm. Beautiful. Sending you all so much love. Thank you, David. Go off, everyone, and shine your light. Remember who you are. Mwah. What a gift. Thank you, Jonas. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom,
Mm.